Today we're looking at notes 8-2, classify, add, subtract, and multiply polynomials. So I want to remind you all that the degree is the highest exponent on the variable. So here I have made a chart that you'll probably want to pause the video and copy down. If you're looking at a term or terms with degree 0, meaning there is no variable at all because there's no variable, no exponent. That is called a constant, like a number. For example, the number 16 is called the constant. Okay, if you're looking at degree 1, meaning the highest exponent on a variable, so here our highest exponent on a variable is 1, first power, that is called linear. If we have a degree 2, our highest exponent on the variable is 2. So here you'll notice my highest exponent is 2, that's quadratic. Degree 3, so 3 is my highest power on a variable, cubic. Degree 4 would be called quartic. Degree 5 would be called quintic. And anything more than 5, 6 or more, is just going to be called fill-in-the-blank degree polynomial, like 6th degree polynomial, depending upon what the degree is. Okay, so a reminder, terms. Terms are separated by a plus or a minus. And we also have a chart for terms. Okay, so if you have a single term, one term, that is called a monomial. So this is called a monomial. Yes, there's an x and a y, but there's no plus or minus in between separating it. That is a single term. This here would be an example of two terms. We've got this term minus, notice it's separated by minus, this term. So that's called a binomial. There's two terms here. If there are three terms, it's called a trinomial. We've got one term, two terms, three terms. That is a trinomial. Okay, anything four or more, you just say polynomial of blank terms, however many terms there are. Okay, so that's the classification part of this lesson. Now let's get to the add, subtracting, and multiplying. So anytime I ask you to add or subtract or even multiply, I want you to put your final answer in standard form. So recall that standard form means exponents go in descending order, so from highest to the least. Okay, so add and subtract. If I ask you to add and subtract these polynomials, that's basically saying collect like terms. So here I've got addition on this one. What you're going to do, there's an implied 1 out in front, there's an implied 1 out in front. Distributing the 1 through doesn't affect any of these things. So this would be 7x cubed minus x minus 4x squared plus 8 plus x minus 11 plus 2x cubed minus 9x squared. Okay, nothing has changed. Multiplying all of these by 1 doesn't change anything. Then you're going to go ahead and collect your like terms. So starting with highest to greatest, greatest to least exponents, I'm going to start with the cubes here. So I've got 7x cubed and a 2x cubed. So that would be 7 plus 2 is 9, 9x cubed. And then I would go with my squares. So I've got a negative 4x squared and a negative 9x squared. So that would give me negative 13x squared. And then I'm going to go with my x's, my single x's, negative x, positive x. So what happens to those? They cancel. Okay, I've got a minus x and a plus x, those cancel. And then last but not least, my constants. I've got 8 and negative 11. So 8 and negative 11 is going to give me minus 3. Okay, so now I've got everything in standard form. I'm good to go. I'm going to box it up. That's my final answer. So subtraction. Now on this problem here, I've got a subtraction sign out in front of this set of numbers here. So that minus needs to distribute through to all four of those terms. Okay, so out in front here I don't have anything but an implied 1, and that doesn't affect any of these, so I can just drop it down. Negative 7x to the 4th plus 11x squared minus x minus 8. Then all the signs on these are going to change. Minus 5x cubed minus 10x to the 4th plus 6x minus 14. Okay, now that I've got everything written out, I'm going to do the same as before and combine my like terms. So I'm going to start with my x to the 4th. So I've got negative 7x to the 4th and negative 10x to the 4th. So that would be negative 17x to the 4th And then my x cubed, I only have the 1, so minus 5x cubed. And then I also only have the 1x squared, so plus 11x squared. Okay, then I've got this negative x and this plus 6x. So negative x plus 6x would be plus 5x. And then my constants, I've got negative 8 and negative 14. So that's going to give me negative 22. So in standard form, I'm good to go. I can go ahead and box my final answer. Okay, so moving on. That was addition and subtraction. Now let's talk multiplication. So on this problem here, what I want to do, obviously, if there's parentheses with a monomial on the outside, I definitely want to distribute in. PEMDAS says I have to take care of that multiplication before I can start adding and subtracting. So I would have negative 2g minus 12g to the fourth, okay, plus 8g to the third minus 12g to the fourth. So I multiply the numbers like regular, and when I have variables that are the same, and you're multiplying, you add their exponents. So that's what you can see there. Now what you're going to do, put it in standard form, combine like terms where possible. So I've got this negative 12g and this negative 12g to the fourth. They're both negative 12g to the fourth. I can combine those. So that would be negative 24g to the fourth. And then I have 8g plus 8g to the third minus 2g. So now my final answer, I've got descending powers, and I've combined as many like terms as I possibly can. So that is my final answer on that one. Okay, moving on. You should all be very familiar with this. You see two binomials here. FOIL. Okay, so 7d times 4d, 28d. Outer, 7d times 5 plus 35d. Inner, negative 12d. And then last, negative 15 when I'm multiplying. So the only two like terms I have, oops, I said 7d times 4d was 28d when it was 28d squared. Okay, so that first in FOIL, 7d times 4d is 28d squared. Hopefully you caught that. I just now did. Okay, my middle two terms can combine. So I would have 28d squared, and then 35 minus 12 would give me positive 23d, bring down my minus 15. Nothing else can be combined, and it's in standard form, so I'm all done. Okay, another thing you should be very familiar with, don't fall for the trap. Remember that squared up there doesn't mean I square each of these things. It means I've got 5x plus 2 times another 5x plus 2. Okay, so that means FOIL. So you've got to do 5x times 5x, 25x squared, okay, and then plus 10x plus 4. You'll notice if you have something like this to where you have a quantity squared, you're always going to have two insides that match. So I would have 25x squared plus 20x plus 4. Now it's in standard form. All set to go. Okay, I only have two more examples for you. All right, so here I've got a binomial, so two terms, times a trinomial. Okay, so it's similar to FOIL, but it's really just like distribution. You're going to take the 4x and you're going to distribute it to all three, and then all three terms here, and then you're going to take the negative 1 and distribute it to all three terms again. Okay, so 4x times x squared is going to give me 4x cubed. 4x times negative 3x is going to give me negative 12x squared. 4x times 2 is going to give me 8x. Okay, so now I've distributed the 4x to all three terms here. Now I need to distribute the negative 1 to all three terms. So I like to stack these. It makes it easier for me to see. Negative 1 times x squared is negative 1x squared. Negative 1 times negative 3 is positive 3x. Negative 1 times 2 is negative 2. So see how I've stacked like terms on like terms? When there's more than two terms, that's just how I've always done it. It makes it easier for me to see. So I have 4x cubed, those combine to negative 13x squared plus 11x minus 2. Now I can box it, it's in order and everything. Okay, so last example, if you're given anything like this to where you have three polynomials that you need to multiply by each other, you can only take 2 at a time. So just take 2 at a time and go from there. So I'm going to FOIL the first 2. A times A is A squared. Sorry, I know my A's look like 2's kind of. And then A times negative 3 is negative 3A. Then negative 4A. Then positive 12. Okay, all of that is going to be multiplied by A plus 7. But before I do that, to make it easier on myself, I should combine these two like terms. Okay, that means less I have to multiply. A squared minus 7A plus 12 being multiplied by A plus 7. So similar to the problem above, except the binomial's on the right, the trinomial's on the left, but that's okay. I can still kind of backwards distribute. Distribute the A to all 3 terms here. So A cubed minus 7A squared plus 12A, and then distribute the 7 to all 3 terms. So that'd be a positive 7A squared, and that would be a negative 49A, and then 7 times 12 is going to give me 70, 84. Is that right? Yes. Okay. So then I'm going to add up. So A cubed, those cancel, and then I've got 12 minus 49. So that's going to give me a negative 37A plus 84. And I'm all done.